Thank the Lord for that music, because it is a late one. Hello, welcome to the Fallout Bar here from Online Darts on night one of the BoyleSports World Grand Prix. Myself, Jack Gobbigarwood, joined by Liam. How are we doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Good, mate. You?
Awake, just. May have missed the last leg or two of the last match.
That music made it sound like a bit of a nightclub in my sitting room this morning and kind of got me going again. So we're ready to go and review quite a few matches on this evening.
Yeah, much needed and much rejuvenated, I think, just to give us that little kick here as it has just ticked over past midnight on the opening night of the Grand Prix held in Leicester. Our man Phil Bars has been on the ground grabbing interviews with all the players. So a quick reminder before we do get underway, if you do want to hear from any of those players in full, then stay on our YouTube channel and find yourself whichever player you'd like to listen to. We do have a couple of clips for you throughout this evening. Do get involved in the chat room and say hello. We'll try and flash up as many comments on screen as possible. Daniel's in. Rose says late one tonight, just a little bit. Colin says evening all. Should I say good morning all? Correct. HJV straight in with Dolby man of the night. And then there's some talk about who won the last match as well. We'll no doubt get to this comment from Daniel at some point as well. He says worried about Humphreys. Let's just run through in order from start to finish from the night, Liam. I think that's the safest thing to do when there's 8 games on. I'm trying to remember which one we haven't already spoken about or we get right towards the end. And at some point, the lovely Sarah from BoyleSports will be jumping on to speak to us as well. But let's start with match number 1. Job done for the Polish number 1, Krzysztof Ratajski. It's not been as brilliant best this year, but a solid performance to beat Callan Rids 2-0 in this one.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Ratajski is probably underperformed for his standards this year. I mean, it was not so long ago that we were talking about him as being the next major champion out of the other bunch that hadn't already won one. But it was a solid performance from Ratajski tonight. Got the job done, professional in and out. Rids didn't really settle at all throughout the match. And Ratajski just took his chances. And again, very solid throughout. And a comfortable 2-0 win for Ratajski in the end in that one.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to spend massive amount of time on all these games. We do have 8 games to absolutely fly through, plus a few clips for you all as well. But I guess Ratajski open night, 90 average to start the night is not to be shrugged at, especially in this format. But the fact he's got such a strong love affair, shall we like, with double 16 and it worked from this evening, is how to play this game, really, isn't it? Pick a double, go for it, be good at it.
Yeah, and when you're so reliable on one double, I mean, it was his go-to throughout the night. Very, very rarely failed him in and out on the double 16 for Ratajski. Maybe missed 1 or 2 here and there, but overall he was very, very comfortable. And look, even from the start, he looked like he was in total control of the match over Rids, and it never really looked in doubt that Ratajski was going to get the job done. And look, he moves on to the last 16 again, and he'll fancy his chances, Ratajski. I mean, he's, like you said, very confident double 16, and when you're so reliable in a double format on that double, and it can carry you a long way. So I think Ratajski could go under the radar a little bit here this week.
Yeah, that was my final question on this one so far. Is it because Ratajski hasn't had the best of years compared to his incredibly high standards on the PDC tour for the last 3-4 years, if you like? How confident will he be feeling heading into the next round, and how much will the rest of the field perhaps be underestimating the Polish Eagle right now?
Yeah, and I mean, Ratajski had a good run at the match play. He was unfortunate to lose to Peter Wright in Blackpool. Hasn't won yet on the tour this year, which is surprising. Usually he picks up a title or 2 along the way. I think it's only 1 Pro Tour final that he's got to this year. So there's no real pressure on him. I mean, we said a year ago, 18 months ago, we were really fancying him to go on and break down a few barriers and win a major title. But look, no one's talking about him. He'll like it that way as well. And if he continues them solid clinical performance that we've seen tonight, he'll fancy himself to go deep in this tournament.
He will indeed. Let's move on to match number 2 nice and sharply then, as obviously we do have an entire fixture of matches to look ahead to tomorrow night as well. So let's fly through these as fast as we can. Next up, Stephen Bunting, 2-0 win over Brendan Dolan. First set, all legs with throw. Second set, the break for Bunting in leg 3, basically getting the job done. Just very, very steady tonight, I think, from Stephen Bunting.
Yeah, exactly. All on throw in set 1 for Bunting. Didn't really have much to be troubled by Dolan. Dolan has a poor record, really, at the Grand Prix over the years. Bunting finished the match very well. He kind of grew into it as it went on. Was scrappy early doors, but once Bunting settled down and we know his capabilities, and he's looked really good, I think, the last year or so, Bunting, and again showed his quality and came through quite comfortably in the end over Dolan, much like Ratajski in match 1.
Yeah, I mean, considering Dolan's nickname and character and record in the sport, and the fact that if you think Brendan Dolan, you think the 9-darter first up in this event, his record here isn't great, is it?
No, it's not, and I worried from the start. I mean, he got quite a favourable draw on Bunting. He would have fancied that as well at the start, as good as Bunting is. But Trout very, very rarely troubled the bullet, and he was in total control from the start. And probably would have expected it to be a tighter affair from at the beginning. I looked at it, thought maybe a 2-1 either way in favour of Dolan or Bunting. But again, like I said, the bullet very confident in the end and saw out a good victory and a solid 2-0 win.
It was indeed. I'm pretty sure we do indeed have a little clip from Stephen Bunting's post-match press conference here from this evening.
I think I've had some hard luck, to be honest, over my career. I've been down and out, and I've rose from the dead, a bit like Tyson Fury. So, listen, who knows where it'll go? But I believe in myself. I believe I can win any tournament, and I'm always here to win. I want to be back in the Premier League. I want to be back playing with the elite of the sport, and I believe my game's there, capable of doing it. But I need to show these guys that I can do it all the time, and that's my main aim.
I'm sure Phil's put that one in deliberately because he mentioned the Premier League in it's October, so I'll let him off a little bit. But come on, man, there's still 4 TV events before the World. Stop talking about the Premier League, please, people, please.
I presume that will be the start of many, many references we'll hear to the Premier League this week and in the next couple of months. Didn't expect the first one this week to be dropped by Stephen Bunting, but there we go.
Well, if you're looking for a Premier League reference, normally one of the next 2 players is very, very good value for that. However, he's sent packing by a very, very good Chris Dobie tonight. I thought Hollywood was absolutely excellent in this one. Luke Humphries, a little bit off the pace. Surprised to see Luke here. Still no news yet as to the impending birth of his child. And at that point, I was pretty shocked that he was playing at all, or as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen anything on socials around that. Myself, Phil, and a couple of us have had that discussion throughout the week. So, look, the fact he's days, minutes, hours away from potentially being a father, I think we can let him off one bad match this year because, look, he's already won 4 Euro Tours this year. But that still doesn't take anything away from this Chris Dobie performance, does it?
No, I mean, look, he has been incredible this year, like you said. I mean, it really didn't look like Luke Humphries, and you could tell his mind may have been elsewhere, and he had other things playing on the back of his mind, which is understandable. But look, I think this match belonged to Chris Dobie, regardless of the performance of Luke. I mean, the double-double on 19s to win the first set was tight. Luke went 2-0 up, I think, in that first set. It looked like he was in control. And then Dobie dug deep. And like I said, the double-double to take the first set was very impressive. And he really did kick on from there, Dobie, with some massive finishing.
Yeah, the 136 and the 138 from Chris Dobie highlights 6 out of 10 in the end on the outer ring. We're still waiting for him to go absolutely berserk at a TV event, aren't we, Chris Dobie? We know what he's capable of. We've seen it on the floor often enough. We've seen glimpses of it on TV before. Throwback to that Gary Anderson match at the World Match Play a few years ago. Is this the event where we finally see the top 16 talent within Chris Dobie?
Yeah, I mean, he got to the semi-final, I think, on debut a couple of years back. So, I mean, he knows this tournament well. Looked very comfortable tonight. And look, I mean, we've seen the standard he's produced over the last year or so. I mean, just doesn't seem to win as many matches as he should do. So maybe this is the one that he could just go berserk in. We see the standard from him tonight, the 136, the 138, and the double-double on the 19. So that was some eye-catching stuff from Chris tonight, and we're still expecting that Hollywood performance or string of performances that could see him catapulted in deep into one of these big major tournaments. And like I said, it's a semi-final a couple of years back. He knows what it takes to get that far at least, and maybe even go one further this week.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. I just have been notified there is no baby as yet from Luke Humphries, but all of us here do wish him and his partner all the best with the impending birth of their child. Hopefully it comes around a little bit soon. You get back on the practice board as well. But let's hear from Chris Dobie then after his 2-0 win over Luke Humphries in round 1.
Yeah, of course. He's the most informed player from myself's point of view. Winning all those European tours and being solid on the floor. Yeah, so yeah, I'm delighted to get such a big win because I was the underdog there. And I don't mind being the underdog, so without doubt it's the hardest thing. Obviously his missus is due and she's I think she's went over the due date, so it could come at any minute, so obviously that's on your mind all the time. And I've went through that myself, knowing I was actually in the European tour when she got the date to have calls, so I was luckily I was back home before that. But you wouldn't want to miss the birth of your first child, especially for Luke. So, like I said before, I wish him all the best, and hopefully he enjoys it.
Should have just waited for the clip, really, instead of my waffling. I think Chris summed it up a lot better than I managed to. But yeah, all the best to Luke Humphries and his partner. Let's move on then to match number 4 and one of the standout ties of the round, in my opinion. Look, there's plenty of them in this field, but with Dave Chisner winning in Belgium last weekend, the home country of Dimitri van den Bergh, this was always set to be a tight one, Liam, and it goes all the way to a deciding leg.
Yeah, and I mean, if you'd have looked at the fixtures before tonight's action had begun, you would have earmarked this as a tasty one. I mean, Chisner van den Bergh, like we said, Chisner on form recently has been very, very good. He has a good record in the Grand Prix, despite like he's has the nickname as a big scorer and traditionally not as good on the doubles, but he's always done well in the Grand Prix. I thought it was a cagey start from both earlier on, and then it kind of took off then in the second and third set. I thought Chizzy was brilliant 63 to level up at 1-1, I think it was. Went all the way, but Dimmy just got through that dangerous opponent in Dave Chisner tonight. I mean, Chisner brimming with confidence, like we said, after his win in Belgium. But Dimmy just got it, just done enough in the end to get off the line. But a good performance from Chizzy, I thought. Just came up short in the end. And it shows in the short format how important it is to win the bull in the practice room, because I mean it's the best of 3 sets, and that's what it came down to. Dimmy had the throw on the deciding leg, and he prevailed in the end. And if it had been the other way around, then it may have been Chizzy. But fortunately for Dimmy, he was the one that came out on top tonight.
Yeah, before that, it sort of felt like it was going to be a case of bad timing from Chizzy. Again, look, stats-wise, they're both pretty solid throughout. But first set, missing darts to take us to a deciding leg. Second set, Chizzy misses a set dart, does eventually go on to win the following leg with a 63 checkout. At that point, you start questioning if it's going to be Chizzy's night. But like I said, that final set, so important having the throw at that moment because all 5 legs went with throw.
Yeah, and I personally, I didn't think Chizzy done enough against the throw to really win the match. I thought he looked too comfortable at times on his own throw, didn't really put him under pressure. I think if you're going to beat a player of Dimitri van den Bergh's quality, that you really have to put him under pressure, make him miss when he's on his own throw and take the chances when they come to get the break. And I just think Chizzy fell a little bit short in terms of putting that pressure on Dimi, because we know how good he is. He'll bang in them 140s all day long, and then big scores to leave it easy for himself. And Chizzy just didn't do enough, in my opinion, against the throw. And Dimi managed to squeeze off the line in the end, like we said, in that deciding leg of the deciding set.
He did indeed. It looked like a slightly changed set of darts for Dimi tonight, so a little bit chunkier in his hand, still adapting to new life with a different manufacturer right now.
Yeah, a bit something a little bit different from Dimi. It was kind of unusual getting used to it on the eye as we've seen it on the telly, but it seems like it worked for him tonight, and I don't think he'll mind too much now as long as he keeps winning. And sometimes, like we've seen before, when he starts hitting them, it almost looks magnetized. With some of the darts he throws, they just follow each other in, and he's very, very impressive group in the darts when he gets up to top speed.
Let's hear then from the young Belgium after his 2-1 win, one of only 2 matches to go the distance tonight over Dave Chisner.
Very simple. Target, I love it. Everything about it, all the equipment, I love it. There is nothing I've got to worry about. I've been checking it out, and all the checks that I've been doing, that I was doing in the past, these checks are just... No. The darts that I'm using now is the darts that I was using so many years ago. You can go on YouTube and put in Dimitri van den Bergh, Robbie John Rodriguez. The shape of that barrel is exactly the same one that I'm using now. Roby smashed me 4-0 then, but come on guys, that's like 10, 11 years ago, who cares? That's like, how do you call it, decennia ago? 10 years, so nah, I'm happy with what I'm using. It's something that I can be looking at and say, I'm comfortable with this, I can get confidence with this. It's only practice, hard work now, and get ready for the Worlds. So this is a massive win, this is a massive step, on to the next one.
Getting ready for the Worlds, Liam. Not the Premier League, the Worlds. I like it from Dimitri, who loves to chat. So if you want to go and listen to that interview in full, head over to our YouTube channel right now. And also, don't forget to hit us up on socials as well. On to the next one, and it was the first of 4 seeded players to play tonight. So there is only 8 seeds in the World Grand Prix, which left ties like this open in the draw. Johnny Clayton, Dirk van Dijvenbode was a first-round tie. What are they doing to us?
Yeah, I mean, we were treated to a good one with this first-round tie. I don't think either of them would have been too pleased when they saw the draw come out like this, especially Clayton, or either Dirk for that matter. But I thought this was always going to be a good one. I thought this would be the round, the tie of the night, and it certainly didn't disappoint. I had a bit of drama, a bit of everything right in there. Clayton went in as the defending champ, probably not in the best of form recently. I think he had a lot to kind of live up to going into this tournament. Dirk, obviously the runner-up in 2020, had pedigree in this tournament as well. I mean, that 156 from Dirk to win the first set really set the tone, and I thought Clayton was banging trouble. After that first set, he looked comfortable. Dirk, Clayton didn't seem to settle early on, and with it being such a short format, I thought Dirk had done enough with the 156 earlier on to really put him under pressure. But Clayton really settled into the match, started turning up the heat in the second set. I think he took out a 130 in the second set that put him straight back in there again. And then we had a little bit of an annoyance. It seemed to be getting on Dirk's nerves with the crowds. I think because of the smaller crowd in there tonight, we may have heard a few more individuals in the crowd. Certainly could hear a few from where I was watching here on TV. And it seemed to get to Dirk a bit. He started fastening up. He was turning around. He was making some. He was having some words with the crowd. He was looking quite discontently at someone in the crowd, or a number of figures in the crowd. And Clayton is an experienced operator at this stage. He knew that they'd got under Dirk's skin, and he managed to get the job done in the end.
He did indeed. I mean, now seems like the absolute perfect time to bring in somebody who was in the venue tonight as well. Hello to the lovely Sarah. How are we?
Hi guys, how's things? You keeping well?
Yeah, not bad. Thank you. It's been years since we sat here and did this last time out. Lots changed in the darting world. Johnny Clayton was crowned champion last time out, and as you just heard, we were discussing the fact that very nearly was sent packing in round 1 tonight.
I know, and when I interviewed him afterwards, he was just like, I've literally robbed that off Dirk. Like, he was just like, he just gave it away, whatever. I know there was somebody saying something in the crowd or whatever happened, and it just got to Dirk in the end. But like, as Johnny said, you have to take these chances, and that's exactly what these players do. They're ruthless when it comes to it. They might be the best of friends off stage, but when it comes down to it, they just have to be ruthless. It was tough to watch. Like, Dirk was obviously upset as well afterwards, but look, these things happen, and it's easy for us to say, but we don't know what it's like up on that stage, having to deal with that. And as well, because there was only about 700 people there, as Johnny was saying, like, you could hear absolutely everything that was going on in the place. So, and there's a less crowd there tomorrow as well. There's only about 500 in. So look, the first few nights are always bleak with the crowd, but the final or the last few nights always make up for it, But look, there was some really good darts there tonight too. Like, apart from obviously just the obvious, but I thought Chris Dolby was really, really good. Adrian Lewis as well with a 152 checkout. It was, and as the Sky Sports commentator said, it's great to see him back. I said it to Adrian. He was like, "Oh, I don't think I'm back just yet." But look, it's good to see him playing some positive darts. And Peter Wright, Johnny Clayton, Dimitri Bergh, Steve Bunting, Christopher Tyskie, and we had 4 full houses. So I don't know if any of your listeners remember from last year, but anytime a player got a full house, we donated £500 to Parkinson's UK. So that's to win the match, most 180s and the highest checkout. We had bloody 4 of them on the first night. So that's $2,000 in the kitty already for Parkinson's UK. Christopher Tyskie, Steve Bunting, Chris Dolby, and Michael van Gerwen. But the icing on the cake then was Michael van Gerwen said he was going to put his own 500 to it as well, and he donated his full house trophy and signed it. So I gave it to Martin Leake and Dean, who have the Raffle Brothers fundraiser for the children they do. So yeah, look, everyone had a good night. Despite the crowd, it was still a good night.
Despite the crowd and the late finish, of course. But that sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, I may have backed 4 full houses tonight, but I only got 2 of them correct. So it was close enough. I had Dave Chisner, who lost out by a leg, and AD Lewis, who lost out by a fair few 180s in the end on Jose de Sousa, let's be honest. But the rest of the result was superb for him. Have you got anything for us for tomorrow then, Sarah? What can we expect from Boyles?
Yeah, just let me get the betting up actually for tomorrow. And just to touch on the outright as well, Michael van Gerwen was 7-1 before today. He was cut into 6-1 before play, and now he's 4-1. So he's actually joint favourite now with Gerwen Price, who obviously plays tomorrow night. But look, there's a few other price cuts as well. I'll just go through them quickly. Like, obviously Peter Wright actually hasn't changed all that much. Johnny Clayton was out at 12-1. He's now 7-1. We have Dimitri Bergh. He was cut as well into 10-1 from about 16-1 as well. And look, there's loads of other movers in there too. But we have obviously a lot to look forward to tomorrow. And I think the 3 debutants play tomorrow, which was obviously Madars Razmar, Martin Schindler, and Luke Mann, I think. So they're 3 debutants. They're all out tomorrow. We obviously start off with Razma and Ryan Searle. And I remember interviewing Ryan Searle last year. He had an epic game in the opening match, but he's only 4-9 to get the better of Matters. We have Ross Smith, who's actually gaining a lot of support in his match. Now he isn't even the favourite, but he has been cut. He's only evens now. Andrew Gilding is 4-5. We have Danny Nopperdin there, who done so well in the tournament last year. He's 4-11 against Gabriel Clemens, who's 21-10. And I think one of the pages on Instagram put up a stat that Gabriel Clemens has an actual really high average at the closing out double. So it'd be interesting to see how that match goes, seeing as he isn't he's the outsider in that match. Joe Cullen 4-5 against Damon Head at the Heat evens. I think that's going to be a sensational match. And I think if we're going to see a shock, I think that's the match that it could happen, because Joe will tell you himself he doesn't have a terrific record in this competition. We have Rob Cross 4-7, Daryl Gurney 11-8. I actually think that would be a close match too. James Wade, Martin Lukeman. Wade is obviously short, 4-9. Lukeman is 7-4. Gerwen Price is obviously the shortest of them all at 1-3. He's going for his second title, the Iceman. And Martin Schindler is 9-4. And then we've got the Bully Boy at 4-6, and Nathan the Asp Aspinall is 6-5. And I think that will be a cracking match to close out the night as well. And we'll know who's made it through to the second round at that stage. But really looking forward to it. Plenty of offers. Look, we have so many price boosts as well. Like, even we have alternative full house markets. So, you know, as you mentioned, some of them let you down, but we offer alternatives. So let's say you fancy someone to win the match, most 180s, but you fancy the other player to get the full house. We give you all those types of options. So you're not just relying on the one player to get all three for you, because it is hard to get. But the full house has become such a popular market for us, because it's just, you get a bit of value rather than backing them to win. So like Gerwen Price, for instance, is 1-3. He's ridiculous. A fella who has a tenner bet is not going to put it on a 1-3 shot. So back him to win the full house and you might get a bit of value. But we'll have loads of price boosts on offer. And in the full house, it's a price boost on every player, every match. And we guarantee best odds in the outright as well on all of our players. So lots going on, and we're buzzing for day 2. It's been a long day, but you know what? Like it's like 12:30 now, getting back to the hotel. But you don't see the day going. It's mad, and the atmosphere, despite the small crowd, it was really good. So yeah, let's roll on to day 2 now.
Perfect. All the best for tomorrow then, Sarah. We'll catch up with you once again. And look, sounds like there's plenty of value to be had on the upsets tomorrow night, because I think there could be a few in store for us there. Thank you for joining us, Sarah. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Brilliant. Good night, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Sarah.
That was Sarah Kinsella from BoyleSports, the title sponsors and our partners throughout the week. Do remember that if you are having a bet, to gamble responsibly. We were midway through a discussion on Johnny Clayton and Dirk van Dijvenbode. I can't remember the ins and outs of exactly where we were. Good match. I think you covered most of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play the Johnny clip, and then we're going to move on.
I did have a sneaky look. It wasn't a pretty look. I think it was a 63 average at the time. And I'm not one really to look at averages, because the average is just for show. It's the doubles that count, the W that counts. But I looked and I thought, I'm in trouble here big time. And every time, you know, I kind of looked, Dirk was hitting treble 20, and I was thinking, oh, please, Dirk, please just get off the rails for a minute. But how I got through, I don't know. Listen, there wasn't a massive crowd in there tonight, and they're only trying to do their bit, yeah, but you hear voices big time, and it's a weird feeling, but you hear voices, and they're only trying to support you. And because the crowd wasn't that big there tonight, you could hear these voices as if they were stuck in your ear. And to be fair to Dirk, I think it put Dirk off a few times when they're shouting for me, obviously. But you know, that is the game. It was the same for both of us, but still, when you're trying to concentrate, it's difficult when you hear these voices. To be honest, there was one time he was basically letting the dart go, and he stopped and he turned around to the crowd. There was nothing nasty, but it's just the wrong shout at the wrong time, if that makes any sense. It's like Dirk was concentrating and he was trying to hit treble 20s or whatever. You know, and that obviously that shout put him off his game. So you know, you've got to stand behind him and, you know, just get on with your job. It's difficult.
Johnny sums it up pretty well there, considering that he's fortunate to be on the receiving end of the win and the assist. I don't think any player particularly likes it, especially seeing or knowing when it happens, because of the way that they all speak about it. But he is the man that progresses through, and he will be back on Wednesday. 3 games to go. Not a lot to say in this one, apart from the fact that on another night, Kim Huybrechts could have won this match 3-0, 3-0. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, one word. The 2 words maybe describe this: unconvincing and mediocre. It was probably one of the dullest games of the night. Not to discredit both players too much, but look, Huybrechts, he was well ahead in the averages early on. He just couldn't find a double to save his life. It looked like he was scoring really well. I mean, when he starts hitting them treble 20s, it seems like he can't stop. Didn't really take his chances in the open set. Wright got ahead. Huybrechts kind of pulled it back a little bit with a big 1-2-8 and a 1-0-1 in the second set. And you think maybe he could have brought Wright to a third set and then see where it went from there and push him all the way and see what Wright was made of. Who didn't really look like he was up to much this evening, to be honest. But look, again, with the dangerous nature of these first round ties, it's about getting through, and I don't think and building through the gears as the tournament goes on. And look, Wright has got the job done. Nothing special, but he's in the next round. And at the end of the day, there's a lot to improve on from him, but in a tournament that he hasn't particularly done well in recent years. But look, he'll just be happy to be in the next round and getting past Kim Huybrechts, who we know from down through the years can be a very, very dangerous opponent.
Yeah, Huybrechts is a player on the up this year, in my opinion. As he started to look just that little bit more comfortable. That performance against Michael van Gerwen at the Grand Slam in 2014, I think it was 2014. Now, I'm not sure we'll see that level again, possibly on TV, because that was just ridiculously good. Made the Premier League and then was beaten most weeks. Playing well, that was the issue. He played well and didn't get wins, and I think that did for him a little bit. It was everything or nothing from Kim tonight, wasn't it? Look, averages-wise, 94 and 93. This is one of the better matches of the night, considering the way that you first approached it and when it was dull and uninspiring or whatever. But numbers-wise, it was okay, but it was everything or nothing from Kim, wasn't it? The scoring power was really good. The starting double was really good. A couple of decent ton-topping finishes, but only 3 from 12 on the outer ring at the back end of legs when it really matters.
Yeah, and maybe because it was sandwiched in between Clayton and Van Duijven, both MVG and Ando, that didn't quite have the glamorising appeal as them other two matches. Yeah, I mean, look, Huybrechts again, like AD Lewis, looks like he's turned the corner with his form. It looks like it's on the up a little bit. And look, when Huybrechts is in full flow, like we said, when we seen him 7-8 years ago, doing well in the Grand Slam and other tournaments, he is a danger to anyone in the field when they draw him, and if he can get anywhere near that kind of form in the next couple of months, I mean, he'll be a huge danger. But look, like I said, Wright, about getting the job done, seems to be sticking with the same dart roughly now, where we don't know what he might come out in the next match, but look, that's what we just want to see him stick with the same set for a certain period of time and see how he gets on with the set that he chooses to go with. But look, he's in the next round. Like I said, he doesn't traditionally do well in this tournament, so look, and it's one that he hasn't won, so it'll be one that he'll be looking to chalk off the list, and he's into the next round. He's going the right way about doing that.
He is indeed. He was one player that perhaps I thought his outright price might have moved a little bit after tonight, but it certainly hasn't so far, thanks to Sarah. We do have a clip from Peter Wright. It's 2 and a bit minutes long, so we'll play it in full because he says lots of things. That's per Peter. If any of you have been on social media right now, you'll see it. There's a couple of questions in the chat room very, very quickly, though. What's going on with Kim? The main one, I just think he's back on the up. Like we mentioned about the Premier League campaign a few years ago, I think that got to him a little bit. His form started to dip. He really, really struggled at time. He's changed manufacturer since then. He's changed management group since then. And he's put the hours back in on the board right now, so he's starting to look in good shape. And I'll let this off. This isn't an insult because it's pretty funny. Peter Wright looked like a donut because of his donut-inspired trousers. Normally, any comment like that towards a player, we'd probably tell him to bugger off, Dan. But yeah, we'll let that one slide. Let's hear then from Snakebite. His full interview, the fact this isn't the full interview, might shock you a bit, is available in full on our YouTube channel.
I did say to Colin Lloyd downstairs, if I get through this first round today, I'll win it. So there you go. I'm number 1 in the world back again now anyway, so.
Just a little look in your face there. Is that something that you look at? Because I know Gezi spoke about
I don't know.
it.
I don't really look at it, but I was told it today as I'm back to number one, and obviously Gezzy's got to go and win it. The old youngster, the old guy here, still pushing everyone's button and annoying them, and I can still play darts. I didn't know what darts I was using until the last, maybe last 5 minutes before I walked on stage. So, I can use any darts and beat anybody. So, bring it on.
Do you like getting under their skin like this? Obviously, you had a tough first half of the year where you weren't very well, but now that you're fit and healthy, do you enjoy getting under their skin again?
Exactly. Well, I've had the operation. I just feel brand new now. It's just like I don't think they're not good enough anymore, to be honest. Yeah, Gezzy's probably the second best player in the world at the moment, but all the rest of them, now they've got to go back to the practice board and practice harder. And I believe I can win it. I've got to the final before. I wasn't experienced enough to take it off MVG at the time, and he was a phenomenal player at the time. He was untouchable compared to any other player in the world, and I don't know if it's whether everyone else has raised their game or Michael's dropped. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but he's just an awesome dart player as well. Still is, but maybe we need Del Michael back again. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I think he's dropped his level and we've caught up.
Who do you see as your main threats then going into the business?
Nobody. I'm in the toughest half of the draw, which I like. Every time I go to all these Europeans and I get an easy draw, well, not an easy, you're all good players, sorry about that. You're all good players, but our class has an easier draw. I always go out. When I get a hard draw, I win. So I'm in the hard half, which I'm looking forward to. So, just keep on. I've got Christopher Tysik in there.
To quote a phrase from boxing promoter Eddie Hearn, that man has got a set of bollocks. Bold just upsetting the entire field in the space of 2.5 minutes, and there's plenty more where that came from as well over on our YouTube channel. So once you finish watching the show, probably tomorrow morning actually, go and check out the full interview with Peter Wright. As ever, he's good value.
Gob looks like he has disappeared. So yeah, trying to walk through a number of them things that Peter Wright had said. I just picked up for a little bit there, Gob, as you just disappeared. Trying to remember numerous amount of things that Peter Wright dropped in that interview. He certainly is different gravy. And Michael van Gerwen, despite winning the Premier League and match play, has dropped a little bit, has he?
Apparently so. And I pressed the wrong button on my mouse and pressed back, and it left the software that we're using. Let's move on then to the man that he spent half that interview talking about, Michael van Gerwen, a 2-0 victor over Gary Anderson. First 3 darts from Anderson, 111. I was like, hang on, here we go. Next one was in a treble as well. I was like, when Gerrard scores in Istanbul, commentary, here we go, come on. I thought we would get that from Gary. It just didn't quite materialise, did it? There were still those in patches, still looks great in patches. Throw was awful tonight. The release was all wrong. Went back to the straight darts. And the signs are now showing in these performances far too often that the time isn't being put in on the practice board.
No, and look, I actually thought Ando was tuned in from the start. Like you said, a good start to the match. You're thinking, oh, maybe here we go. Maybe Ando has done a bit. He could be ready. Both were visibly nervous at the start, as they usually are when they play each other. I think they're both wary that any one of them could go off at any moment and produce something absolutely ridiculous, as we've both seen from them down through the years. Both missed a truckload of doubles early doors, and you just felt that MVG took the chances that were presented to both of them from both sides early on, and if Gary wasn't going to nick them legs that were hanging in the balance, then you didn't really hold much hope from when MVG kind of started to get going. And look, before the match, I couldn't see. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was 6-0 in legs. I couldn't really see anything else than a 2-0 MVG win in this one. 84 checkout from Gary was probably as good as it got. 106 from MVG to win it, and he really didn't have to get out of second gear, which is disappointing because, like you said, we're seeing these performances far too regularly from Gary at the moment, and compared to, I mean, we know what Gary's levels are, and we all want to see him return to somewhere near the player that he was when he won them world titles in the match play, etc. But they're getting less and less these days, and it's disappointing because I thought maybe if MVG first round at any game would inspire him to be close to his best here at the Grand Prix, it would have been the match tonight.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of the matches that these two have played in recent past. Like I said, the nerves clearly an issue, but the fact that Michael has started slowly in the last couple of meetings and Gary just hasn't taken advantage. He's then chasing a little bit. He knows that he perhaps should be ahead at that point because Michael's been so off it. And the minute Michael comes back at him, bang, game over, pretty much. We don't have a clip from Michael as yet. I'm not sure we're going to get it tonight because of how late it is, but the full interview will be available on our YouTube channel. The same will apply to our next winner as well, which was Adrian Lewis, who produced another fantastic performance to beat Jose de Sousa. Deciding leg in the first set was stones from AD Lewis, and then the second set, pretty much same again. Job done for AD Lewis in superb fashion against a very, very dangerous Jose.
Yeah, I mean, I was really, really impressed with Adrian Lewis. Look, we've seen him improve form recently, and I mean, we're kind of expecting him maybe, or expecting that next step in the upturn in form for him to go on a bit of a run in one of these major competitions. The 1-5-2 to open, like you said, was a brilliant finish just to set the tone from him. Then got broken straight back from de Sousa. You're thinking, oh, that hard work in the first leg is going to be undone. But the 1-1 to win the opening set, it was vintage Adrian Lewis at that moment, and a huge show of emotion there at the end of that set. And Adi looked a lot more comfortable, composed up in the yoke. He was just taking his time a little bit with certain shots that sometimes traditionally we didn't see from him. It was just bang, bang, bang. The natural throw that just got him through matches. I think there was 147 in there as well. And I think, was it back-to-back big score? I think it was 180s, back-to-back 180s to Sousa, Lewis. They were getting each other's face a little bit, all very friendly, but thriving on the emotion there. And look, great win for Lewis. Could be the start of what he needs, Dolby in the next round. He'll fancy that one as well. And an all-round good showing from Adrian Lewis tonight.
Yeah, I guess the most impressive thing about this is coming back from 2-0 down in that second set to close it out 3-2, 15-17, 15 darts, double start format. That's very, very good from Adrian Lewis. And if he keeps that up, it'll be tough to beat over this format.
Yeah, and look, I mean, when de Sousa scores as big as he does, he's always in legs. I mean, it's hard to see that he wasn't going to close out. He looked dominant in that second set, looked like he was going to bring it to a third set. But Lewis just dug in deep, that gritty performance. You see the emotion of him. He wanted that tonight. It looked like he was really confident throughout the match. Nothing really seemed to faze him. And even, like you said, when he was 2-0 down, dug deep and managed to get the win in the end and close out a really good night's work from Adi.
Yeah, he did indeed. Couple in the chat room. Is Anderson finished, and is Gary going through the same thing? Making it seem like he doesn't care. I think we're going to hold that one for the live lounge on Monday. Myself, Phil, and Lee will do that one a little bit more in depth. When we've got that little bit more time to talk about, we're already 45 minutes into this show. It is just approaching 1 a.m. and we still have to give you our score predictions for the 8 matches tomorrow, Liam. So we're not going to say why. We're just going to say who we think wins and what scoreline, okay? And I know I've just said that, And I know at some point one of us is going to try and justify why we're picking something, but for the next 6 minutes, you're going to give me a name and a number.
Yeah,
okay?
It is well past my bedtime, so that I'll keep it short and sweet.
Yeah. Some good feedback on the Dozer interview, by the way, as well. Superb interview from Glenn, very, very open from him. Looks like he really enjoyed his time down in Portsmouth. Plenty more to come from Dozer, even if it is not in the PDC next year. But again, something else we'll be happy enough to pick up on Monday for more conversation about that one, or hit us up on social media. I'm always happy to have a chat all day tomorrow, etc. Liam might still be napping and recovering from today. Right, first game on tomorrow night is Madders Rasma Ryan Sell. Winner, scoreline, go.
Rasma 2, Searle 1.
I've got the same. Let's see if we keep this up for 8. Game number 2, Ross Smith against Andrew Gilding.
Smith 2, Gilding 1.
Oh, same. Match number 3, Danny Nopper against Gabriel Clemens.
Nopper 2, Clemens 0.
I've got 3 in a row.
Scripted.
There we go. If we get the same here, I'll be very surprised. Joe Cullen against Damon Heta.
Cullen 2, Heta 1.
I'm going 2-0. I think there's an edginess to Damon Heta in the first round on TV right now. Match number 5. I'm really, really intrigued by this one. Rob Cross against Daryl Gurney.
I think Rob Cross inches it 2-1.
Daryl Gurney, 2-1. James Wade, Martin Lukeman.
Wade 2, Lukeman 1. Much to your delight if that comes off.
Same, but it will be edgy from Wadey. I'm still not. There are signs the back end of this year, but still not convinced. Gezi, Martin Schindler.
I feel like they're playing every minute on anything I watch at the moment, but 2-0 Price.
Exactly the same. Good performance from Schindler. But yeah, and the final game of the night, good luck splitting these two. Michael Smith against Nathan Aspinall.
I reckon the Asp edges at 2-1.
Same. Quite a few of those the same from us included.
That's not good.
Not good at all. Put your house on the rest of them. No, don't do that either. That would be absolute nonsense. Tommy and Dan are firing in a few predictions in the chat as well. Tommy's got Searle 2-1, Gilding 2-0, Noppert 2-0, Heta 2-1, Gurney 2-1, Wade 2-0, Price 2-0, Smith 2-1, and Dan's got Lukeman 2-1. Ooh, calling the shot against Mr. James Wade. I think we're going to wrap the show up there for tonight. We've gone for nearly an hour, and it is a few minutes to 1 a.m. here in the UK, which means if any of you are listening in Europe, thank you very, very much for staying up and watching. If you're listening back via podcast, thank you for listening. I hope you've managed to fit it in during your day before day number 2 gets underway. And if you're watching in America, have a great evening and watch some American football, which I might watch a little bit of because it's an intriguing matchup and I need that defense to do some bits for my fantasy team. Liam, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Thank you also to Sarah from BoyleSports for joining us as well. And of course to everybody in the chat. And you guys are all absolute stars. We'll be back tomorrow night with Fallout Bar from day 2. But until then, do make sure you stay on our YouTube channel. Check out all those interviews and keep up to date with everything going on from Leicester on our socials. Phil Bars in my neighbouring town, actually. I might pop along and have lunch with him one day throughout the week, as it is only a few minutes from where I live. But until then, thank you very, very much for watching, and we will speak to you all very, very soon.